One Zambia, one nation. Welcome to the news. To present, my name is Henry Himonde. A look at the top stories in our news. African Union to celebrate 60th anniversary. First ever forensic DNA laboratory launched. FRA targets to buy over 4,000 metric tons of white maize in Choma. And Anti-Corruption Commission concerned with bribery in public and private institutions. The news in detail. On May 25th, 2023, the African Union will be holding the legendary celebration of the 60th anniversary since its establishment. The 60th anniversary is being celebrated under the slogan, "Our Africa, Our Future." In a related development, Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary for Administration Mambo Hamaundu has challenged Zambians to inculcate the spirit of hard work and financial discipline as they join the continent in celebrating its freedom on May 25, 2023. Mr. Hamaundu encouraged citizens to work hard and reduce on donor dependence, citing the country's forefathers who fought for freedom that we are enjoying. Here is Jens Malumba with the details.
On May 25th, 2023, Zambia will join the rest of the continent in commemorating Africa Freedom Day. This is being celebrated by African countries for the liberation against colonialism. With the country having gained political independence, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary Mambo Hamaundu says government's focus is now on the promotion of financial emancipation among citizens. One way through which this is done is the rolling out of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, as a step towards this agenda.
2022, when the enhanced CDF was commenced being rolled out, we've actually seen that there is visible improvement when it comes to infrastructure. There is visible improvement when it comes to the number of children who are being enrolled in primary schools, or people returning to schools, because they can now see that there is a structure and there are also desks. And of course, I'm not oblivious to the fact that we now have free education, which has also been a big trigger to when it comes to this response in terms of education.
At the closure of the year 2022, 40,000 young people were trained, and several of them are now able to access loans to boost their businesses.
Last year we had in excess of 40,000 people being trained, either in skills development or through the boarding fee bursaries, and that in itself is good empowerment. And one component which was a bit slow and has now been unlocked, and we are seemingly moving on that one as well, is the aspect of the loans. You know, people have now begun to receive loans up to 200,000, 5% simple interest.
And the Zambia Cooperative Federation, ZCF, notes some of its contributions to accelerate financial independence in the country.
We need to revitalize cooperatives. And so this National Cooperative Revival Plan, one of the activities we are going to do is to create the Provincial Cooperative Development Funds. So each province will have its own development fund. And this development fund will be built from member contributions in that province. So the members of the cooperative movement in Northern Province, for instance, will start contributing on a monthly basis to create a loan fund. And it is that loan fund which will exist in each of these provinces that will be used to finance cooperative projects in that particular province.
The Federation has this message to the cooperatives as Zambia joins the rest of the continent in commemorating Africa Freedom Day.
Cooperative movement involves, or rather it has captured all walks of life. Highly educated people, those who are average in education, those who have never been to school. It involves everyone.
Jane Simalumba, ZANIS, in Lusaka.
The 34th Africa Public Relations Association Conference officially opened in Lusaka today at Mulungushi International Conference Center with a call to accelerate economic growth in Africa. President Hakainde Hichilema has urged public relations professionals to help reposition Africa as a favorable destination for investment and development through communication. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by Minister of Information and Media, Joshi Kasanda. Kanakantapa Women's Cooperative in Chongwe District in Lusaka Province is appealing for financial support to enhance its cassava value addition production business. The cooperative, which got support to procure equipment from the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, through Zambia Association of Federations of Women in Business in 2010, needs improved versions of machinery. Mijelo Luwinda now reports.
Established in 2006, Kanakantapa Women's Cooperative is one of the groups that has embraced value addition to the locally produced cassava. The cooperative is currently making cassava flour, mealie meal, starch and many other byproducts from the plant that is considered to be resilient to different weather conditions. However, the equipment being used by these women has seen its better days, and now the members are appealing for new machinery to improve their production.
So pakali pano mwachidule tiseza na wazafa webu kutitandizira market na kutita repair mamashini yonse amene yanaonongeka. So production inayamba koma production yatu itivuta ndavambiri ni manyo. So kuti tingapeze market like vezana tupezera ku Trade Kings koma chinativuta kuti tichite miti vamene bafuna chifukwa kuti mamashini yatu ni manyo. So matanages ezotivuta kuti tiachite miti ndemwe tinaluzingira ija market. As at now market yene tilibe chifukwa kwa bati stichita miti ija target compressor yatu ni manyo. So stikwanirisa.
Zambia Federation of Women in Business Kanakantapa representative explains the value that cassava has in promoting crop diversification.
A couple of years ago, COMESA came up with 3 clusters that they were going to focus on in the different countries that are under COMESA. There was the textile and leather and then cassava. So as the Zambian chapter of COMFWIP, we decided to focus on cassava. Why cassava? For us and as Zambia, we also realized that we were aligning to the Zambian government's policy to look at cassava as a substitute for maize, because cassava, as you know, is a very resilient crop which can even grow where there are harsh weather conditions. And if you look at cassava, the whole crop can give you money.
ZAFAWIB is a chapter of the COMESA Federation of Women in Business and is alive to the fact that increasing production at the plant will require a facelift, even to the infrastructure.
But I'm going to emphasize on how we link ourselves with COMESA, especially COMFWIB, which is our partners who have helped to revamp the plant here. It had really died, and the Minister of Community Development came in to look for us so that we may come in and work with the association. But there was a time where we had even to call COMESA to come and sit with us and the women here so that we see the way forward, because this plant, as you have heard, it's really something which can change the narrative and the poverty situation within the this area.
Structure. It is hoped that help for the improved version of equipment will soon come through for the cooperative to enhance its production capacity and meet the demand for its clients. Michelle Olubinda for ZANIS in Chongwe.
In other news, the first ever forensic DNA laboratory worth about 11 million kwacha has been launched. The facility, which is housed at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University, will enhance investigations in sexual and gender-based violence cases. More in this report.
This is the new state-of-the-art DNA laboratory worth 11 million kwacha. The facility, which is the first of its kind in Zambia, is housed at Levi Mwanawasa Medical University. This facility is a game changer as it will be used effectively in the country's criminal justice system. The lab will help address sexual and gender-based violence cases, among others.
Since the establishment of the DNA lab, 42 cases were submitted for analysis, out of which 8 were sexual offenses, 22 were murder cases, 5 were paternity-related cases, 3 were robbery cases, and 4 were human identity inquiry cases.
Minister of Home Affairs Jack Mwimbu urged Levi Mwanawasa Medical University to ensure smooth running of the facility.
I'm therefore directing you, permanent secretaries, and the Vice Chancellor at Levi Medical University to ensure that there is smooth operations of this laboratory in order for it to provide the much needed DNA evidence in resolving GBV cases. With the support you are getting from government and other cooperating partners, there should be no excuse whatsoever for failure to provide DNA evidence in sexual crimes.
And cooperating partners described the establishment of the first ever DNA lab in the country as a milestone.
This $600,000 or 11 million kwacha investment in cutting-edge DNA technology and laboratory infrastructure will make Zambians safer.
The establishment of this DNA lab is a big and important step in our efforts to decrease the number of genuine cases lost in the judicial system, as DNA is a powerful investigative tool.
Mtalakani for ZANIS News in Lusaka.
On the Copperbelt Province, Luansha Municipal Council, in collaboration with Luansha Copper Mines, has sourced funds for the rehabilitation of part of the H. Vigov Road in the Central Business District. The H. Vigov Road has not seen a facelift for over 50 years. In a related development, Chama District Commissioner Yobe Goma has called on the Road Development Agency to rehabilitate the Luangwa Bridge on the Chama Matumbo Road, which is on the verge of collapse due to erosion. Mr. Goma observed that the bridge was last worked on in 2013 by a Chinese company and requires urgent attention. Details in this report by Fred Dipiri.
The state of Luangwa Bridge on Matumbo Chama Road has continued deteriorating day by day. This bridge is a major crossing point connecting Matumbo Chama Road in the Eastern Province. However, erosion and mudslide have taken their toll by following the characteristic behavior of Luangwa River. Chama District Commissioner Yobe Goma appeals.
Because if they delay, this problem will continue and we'll be talking over and over the same thing. So it's my appeal that the RDA should come in fast and start works.
The bridge's significant role can be described by the DC.
Some of the materials we get them from Tanzania to Chama. So we are using this same load. So you can see the importance of this load. It is very important to the people of Chama. So if this load is not worked on, which means the rest of Chama will be cut off from Chinga province. And this side we also have Chief Lundu, the people of Chief Lundu, who can be cut off if the bridge will not be worked on this year.
Local road users also add their voices. Similarly, the state of this road is also begging for urgent repairs. It's only hoped Government, through the Road Development Agency, RDA, could respond with the urgency it demands. Fred Piri, ZANIS News.
In agricultural news, the Food Reserve Agency in Choma district is targeting to purchase over 4,000 metric tons of white maize. District Commissioner Sigalea Gamela says the target should give assurance to farmers of the available market for their produce. He was speaking when he addressed FRA depot clerks in Choma. The news continues. Only one body of the alleged three was retrieved from yesterday's accident that happened in Mupapa area in Masangano in Masaiti district. This is after speculation by eyewitnesses that three people were on board a Toyota Allion of unknown registration number that caught fire after it collided with a Shackman truck along the Ndora Kapiri Road around 13:20 hours. Masaiti District Commissioner Eni Matutu, who visited the scene of the accident, says the accident has come with great shock, especially that it has been difficult to identify the person who was on board, as both the vehicle and the person were severely bent. She has since cautioned motorists to exercise patience whilst on the road to avoid losing lives prematurely. She stated that the district has been experiencing accidents along the Ndola Kapiri Road, as most motorists traveling along the road are in the habit of overspeeding, leading to the loss of lives. In other news, the Anti-Corruption Commission says bribery remains a huge challenge in both public and private institutions. ACC Acting Northern Regional Manager Lakson Daka says this is despite the reduction of the bribery index from the 10.9% in 2019 to 10.1% in 2022. He says the 2022 Zambia Bribe Payers Index survey findings show that the overall bribery index has reduced by 0.8%. Mr. Daka said this today at the dissemination of the 2022 Zambia Bribe Payers Index survey report findings in Kasama district. He said the reduction of bribery is a manifestation of the efforts government has put in place to reduce corruption. He says some measures put in place include rolling out of integrity committees, introduction of corruption prevention practices like service charters, conflict of interest guidelines, and codes of conduct in public institutions.
Despite the observed reduction, the findings in the report generally show that bribery is still a big challenge in both public and private institutions. This is because majority of people seeking public service have continued to pay bribes solicited by public officers. It is disheartening to note that in 67% of cases where an individual failed or refused to pay the bribe solicited for, the service sought was either delayed and in worst cases it was denied. I therefore urge all public officers to desist from engaging in corruption. I also encourage people to report all instances of corruption because the Commission follows up on every corruption report that it receives.
We now move to Western Province, where the Parliamentary Committee on National Security says it will endeavor to ensure that the operations of the Zambia Police Service are strengthened. Committee Chairperson Morgan Stwala says the committee's tour, which started from Southern Province and took them to Western Province, is in a quest to look at the administrative and operational constraints Zambia Police Service faces in order to find solutions. General Sitwala, who is also Kaoma Central Member of Parliament, was speaking during a courtesy call on Provincial Minister Kapelwa Mbangweta. He noted that it is important for the Zambia Police Service to work effectively as it is responsible for the general security of the entire nation. Meanwhile, Mr. Mbangweta has pointed out that government has the security of its people at heart. That is why it is making deliberate steps in strengthening the operations of the Zambia Police Service through such engagements.
We are basically looking at the administrative and the operational constraints that they may have, and in so doing we are listening to them as the policemen. We are also listening to the general public. We want to hear how best government can look into the affairs of this very important institution which is responsible for the security of the nation, so that we can better their operations, we can also better their administrative problems that they may have. And this way, like you know, in a democracy, this is what is important for us to ensure that we talk, we hear problems, and we give chance to government to resolve them.
What is intended is to strengthen the operational arrangements so that appropriate action is taken to ensure that the safe delivery is enhanced. That is what actually is intended, so that everything is above board.
From Western, we go to Northwestern Province, where residents of Mlenga area in Solwezi district are made to carry candles when visiting the health center at night due to lack of electricity. The residents are appealing to government to electrify the facility. Details in this report.
This is the only health facility that services the people of Mlenga area in Kivuku Ward in Solwezi district. This facility is, however, not electrified, and this is affecting the delivery of quality health services. We usually carry our own source of light, especially when we come to deliver from here. We appeal to government to electrify our health posts. The residents also want government to provide clean and safe water as well as improve the state of the road. The road is in bad state. We find it difficult to move patients and pregnant women to the health facility.
My area lacks access to clean and safe water. My people depend on shallow wells, so we need bores.
Solwezi Central Member of Parliament Stafford Mulusa has some assurance for the community.
Wapana 1 million kwacha kechine kuya kunone.
We have allocated 1 million kwacha to work on the road. This will ease transportation of agro-produce to the market.
Mwape Mwesa for ZANIS News in Solwezi District.
The Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, has expressed concern with the continued low uptake of information on the regional activities by citizens within the bloc. SADC representative Waza Ompile says there is need to enhance reporting on matters of regional integration to allow full citizen participation in the process. He was speaking during the SADC Media Training Workshop in Lusaka. More in the following report.
There is still a gap in terms of information and knowledge within the region, especially to our citizens, on what SADC is all about, on what regional integration is about, and on what part the citizenry can play in advancing the regional integration agenda. And I think media really plugs in very well at this point to give correct information, to empower citizens on what their role is and what they can do in terms of achieving the aspirations of the regional integration agenda.
The media plays an important role and acts as agents of information dissemination and increases visibility of SADC to its ordinary citizens. The effective use of media in the regional integration can help inform, empower, persuade citizens to actively participate in integration agenda, as well as foster public debate and policy changes in the SADC region. It is therefore in this regard that this workshop is being held with the aim to enhance capacity of the media, their participation in generating of quality information and reporting on SADC matters in the regional and national media. Specifically, the objectives of the workshops are as follows: to increase awareness of and knowledge about SADC, provide a platform for improving access to and exchange of information and knowledge about SADC.
Solwezi Central Member of Parliament Stafford Mulusa has expressed displeasure at shoddy works by some local contractors engaged to carry out projects under the Constituency Development Fund CDF. Speaking when he visited some CDF projects in Kajiwa and Kabijimpanga wards, Mr. Mulusa cited lack of monitoring by the CDF committee and the local authority as a major contributing factor to the poor works. Details in this report.
Some contractors working on various developmental projects in Solwezi district have failed to deliver projects on time. This is Mashimpi Primary School in Kajiwa Ward, where a 1x3 classroom block is being constructed under the Constituency Development Fund CDF, despite the contractor having received an advance payment of 125,000 kwacha. The works have stalled, and this has unsettled Solwezi Central Member of Parliament Stafford Mulusa.
This is not a serious contract. This one is not. You can't even give him a second chance. You can't. Just look at the workmanship. Everywhere there. There. How can he approve of this kind of work? This. No. Call him.
And at St. Francis Secondary School in Kapijimpanga Ward, the situation is not any different, as the contractor has failed to deliver the work on time.
Overall, I think the performance of Kapijimpanga Ward project is below par. It's below par. That's why I've told my director here to cancel projects like this, where you have a period of time, maybe 6 months, to hand over, and that time elapses like for this one. There's no need of renewing, because there's nothing to show that this guy is committed. You know, if the guy was committed, we could have seen this structure with corners and all that above the slab level, but there's nothing here.
Solwezi Municipal Council Director of Engineering Angel Simwaba has explained the delays.
Nothing has been paid to this effect. We can't pay for this, and they've been told to redo the concrete slab. We can only pay after they redo, or if they can't redo, then we'll still have to find legal means, or we can just terminate the contract.
For ZANIS News, I am Onishas Mamba in Solwezi District, Northwestern Province.
That item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, another look at the top stories in our news. African Union to celebrate 60th anniversary. First ever forensic DNA laboratory launched. FRA targets to buy over 4,000 metric tons of white maize in Choma. And Anti-Corruption Commission concerned with bribery in public and private institutions. Thank you so much for watching the news on behalf of the entire news production crew. My name is Henry Himonde. Remember to join us tomorrow again at the same time for another edition. For now, it's goodbye.